push stuff out slow. And
Let
you're
me know.
good.
All right, guys. So what we need from you is during the course of the next few minutes, you need to watch this for us and tell us if we what you're noticing. We actually bumped up the resolution a little bit, but we bumped down some other settings to try to make it a little less hard. It may just be my internet, although I find that weird, but it could be. So we will see. Um, if a stream freezes, yeah, I don't know then, Muses. Just froze?
It hasn't frozen for me, and
It
I'm
hasn't
looking at
frozen.
it.
I'm not getting
Yeah.
any frame rate drops at all. Like I'm looking at my my bar down at the bottom of Streamlabs, and I'm not getting anything. It's not choppy anymore. Well, that's good.
Okay. All right. Well,
Good.
let's proceed
We'll push
forward,
with this.
and
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, let's just try this and see. Get you guys. You know, if you see anything, then just let us know, and we can factor that in at the end of the stream. I mixed up a teal that is not quite the teal I used to have, but it's like closer. I'm still annoyed. I'm still annoyed. I had to mix like 3 drops of Troll Hide, 3 drops of Tropical Blue, and then I tried some Tianzia Jade. Or no, it was 2 Troll Hide, 3 Tropical Blue, 3 Tianzia Jade, and it still wasn't blue enough, so I had to throw some Cyan Blue in it. And it's close to the color. It's really close, but it's not. This is what happens when you lose a color and that's a mixable color, because when it comes down to it, swamp green is a very simple color, which makes it very good to mix with because it's very predictable. And a lot of these other colors may not be as simple because, you know, we're trying for different colors at that point. It depends on what you're trying for as far as coverage and as far as, you know, with the bone stuff, often we're trying for coverage, but that's not necessarily good for mixing. Not as good. It can complicate things. So, yeah, that's what we run into with all of this stuff. Oh, I got a little dog hair on my brush. So we'll continue to block in the teal here. This is still a pretty teal. It's just not the teal I had before. And I'm going to I've got that lighter teal that I don't mind. I wonder how it'll be. It's a little bit muted is the problem. So we'll see if it's a good highlight for this. I'll kind of test it on parts of the cape and see if I like it. Or if I feel like it's just not as good. At this point, I think I'm gonna block in the back of the cape too. Well, I mean, and that's just it, right? It's like in the course of you've got the course of business, and you've got what's good for the artist, right? And you've got to find a marriage between the two. And Ed, you know, paints, but he doesn't paint a lot. He doesn't paint like I do, for sure. I mean, his style is very different. He does a lot of vehicles, and historical stuff, and so you know, things that are very useful to me may be looked at and just deemed not useful necessarily, you know, because really what Ed's probably looking at is just, you know, the color and nothing else. You know, like canceling blonde hair shadow and chestnut gold was probably done because they had low sales, and we have leather brown, which would appear superficially to be similar. You know, we also have 9429 polished leather, thank God, which is, I think, more useful from a mixing standpoint. But you know, so they make those calls based on, you know, well, we've got too many of these ochre tans, right? Oh, what was that noise I just heard? I just heard noise. I hope it wasn't like crazy things happening to my stream. Hi, Kiri dog. Are you going to settle down? Yes, David's got meetings. Yeah, you can't go out there and nose him. I'm sorry. Yes, you have to settle down here in the room. We should be safe from Kiri's butt today, just because she more or less is empty, I think. Crossing fingers, knocking on wood. Wood is in proximity. Um, but yeah, but the truth is, I mean, when you're mixing, that not all tans and ochre tans that look similar are created equal. You have different pigment loads. Sometimes you have different bases. You have different pigments entirely used in some cases. The presence or absence of black can make a huge difference. how many pigments you have in a mix makes a huge difference. All these factors. So, I mean, if you so it can be difficult to make the right decision when you're trying to make a good decision for the company. And you know, you could argue that, well, these colors are all supposed to be so useful, but nobody's buying them, right? And then I think it comes back to education. I feel like we could have done more. We could have more information on the website. I mean, the problem was really that the person to write that information would have been me, but when did I ever have time when I was working at Reaper to put together a bunch of, you know, info? I was pretty slammed. So it all comes down again to like a lot of people wearing a lot of hats at Reaper and not always having time for every project that would help. If I ever design my own paint line, though, I'm going to take these lessons to heart. All right, so that's a pretty teal. It goes well with her hair, which was my primary concern. But it is a little bit transparent because of the Tianzia jade. Well, I mean, the coral color is the Lotus Orange Chibi. And it isn't hard to mix one of those. Grab 9005 Phoenix Red. Add white. Done. I mean, the only thing you really need for a coral or a peach is a lighter red-orange. So, grab an orangey red, pop some white in it. Then we're going to put in a border here. I have to decide what color I want to shade this with. We started dark with the original teal here. I might just add white to this. I might just have to. Yeah, you've been doing it the hard way. It's not hard. What is a coral color? It is a kind of pinkish orange, right? So start with the reddish orange and add white. Very easy. Break it down into the simplest blocks. Yeah, I think I'm going to add... Actually, no, I'm going to go up with this like I was going to go up with this color originally. Which is by adding the blue to it to see if I can shift it that direction. Hopefully I don't lose all my green. That's my worry. We'll see. But yeah, historically, I mean, we had a coral color one time, and it just never sold. Like, people don't know what to do with them. So once again, that was actually one of the original canceled colors. Back, I think it was bright coral. Don't remember. Was with cloud pink and saffron sunset in a triad. Yeah, this is gonna go really blue. Maybe I just want to go up with white. Now we're messing around. Now we're just trying to say, okay, do we really want to bring this up with, because I had an original concept for this color, but now it's shot because I can't use my swamp green anymore. So now I have to kind of like look at myself and say, okay, what am I really doing here? Do I want to highlight this cape up with blue like I was originally going to, but I don't have my original like shadow that I wanted to use? So maybe the answer is no. I'm going to add a little bit of white to my blue mix that I just made, mixing my teal with tropical blue. The color picker tool was inherently flawed, Val. It could be done again, just so much better. If I was going to make peacock green, I'd do it in an entirely different way, Chibi. Like, the thing is, remember, it's not just color. It's also coverage or transparency. So I guess it depends on how you're using peacock green. Yeah, that's really pale. Yeah, I don't know if I want that. That's like really washed out. See, the problem is I'm losing my vibrancy. Don't want to lose too much vibrancy. I'm going to grab some of this teal and mix it with a bit of this mixture and see what I get. I do feel like I'm definitely losing my green tone a lot. If Paint Rack does what Color Picker used to, then the Power Palette, you know, what the Power Palette used to, then awesome. Alright, maybe this will work. I feel like I do need a darker teal. I feel like maybe I need to add some black to Tianzia and see if that'll be a good shadow. Because I feel like I got too light with this for sure. So, alright. I'm okay with this teal, but I think I need to muck with it. So yeah, so it gets very difficult to mix real equivalents. Let's see, what have I got? Where's my Tianzia? There it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix Tianzia with just a touch of cyan blue to make a teal. This should be pretty evident that these two colors would make a teal. You've got a bluish green with a lot of phthalo in it, and you've got a warmish blue. You want to use more green than blue because the blue is going to overpower the green pretty hard. And then I may add a drop of black to that, just for shading. So I'm going to put 4 drops of Tianzia, 1 drop of cyan, I mean, the Power Palette, again, you have to have somebody with a really good color sense who can draw parallels, like who can do the swatches, make them close, you know, because you have to have the swatch be correct in order for the Power Palette to work. And that was the problem with the old swatches, is we dragged them pretty much from the PDF, but the PDF was set up to print correctly. And if you know anything at all about printing in color, you know that that doesn't mean that it's going to match the actual color of the bottle that you see in real life. And that means that inherently you got some really weird results fed back sometimes. So that was the problem with the Power Palette. So, I mean, if we do it, we should do it right. It's still a great idea. I'm kind of, like, I mean, I'm sure there are programs that do it that just don't know Master Series. Alright, so I mixed some black in with that. It's a really dark teal now. It's not as green as I would like it to be, but it's probably a good shadow for this color, which has a lot of blue in it now. You do not have black liner. You do not have, there is no black liner anywhere. Twisted Oma. There never has been. There's brown liner is dark brown liner, and that would be 9064. There is no black, there is no dark brown, there's only brown liner. I never made black liner because honestly it just thinned down some black. Gray liner is probably, if you want a neutral liner that has no brown in it, use gray liner. That's kind of what it's for. But yeah, we never made a black liner because I figured that people could just use black at that point, or the gray if they wanted something a little softer. Because, I mean, the point of the liners, right, guys? The point of the liners is to enable you to get that more fluid, softer line. And so I figured if you were looking for that, you weren't going to look for a cartoony effect, which means you don't want black. Black is very, very cartoony. So I figured that other colors made more sense for liners than black did. Just going to block in some shadows. I mean, yeah, if you want black, if you are going for a black line, you are going necessarily for a very harsh, cartoony effect, a la Borderlands art style, which is beautiful on its own, but, you know, it definitely is harsher than a natural shadow. So if you're going to go for that, then just use pure black and thin it down. And that will give you that hard line. Otherwise, there's no reason to use black for your shading. If you don't want a harsh shadow, there's no reason. Real shadows in nature are not black. Unless they're on, like, black animals or something. Then technically, yes. But even then, they probably have reflected color. I'm being persnickety, but oh well. But yeah, so there's no black liner for that reason. In reality, I find that brown liner is an excellent shadow for everything. If you never went outside of brown liner, your minis would still look fantastic. Do I use the camera to check my work? I do sometimes nowadays, Shotokami, if I'm doing little details. I like to kind of see how it looks on the camera, because especially with NMM, the camera does distort things a little. It flattens it out, just like a photograph would. So it is actually really useful for like double checking things like NMM to see if they look right. Hello, Captain Pug. How's it going? So I think since I started streaming, I have gotten more likely to use the camera to look at my work. It's useful sometimes too because it's looking at it at a slightly different angle than you are. If you miss an area, if you have white like stuck back here, if I had missed like a white area back here. See, actually there is one. There's a couple of drops of little white. Sometimes your camera will pick that up because it's looking at the model from a different angle. So that can be very useful to you if you're used to working this way. I mean, you don't even need to go live if you've got it set up on your little desktop or your little laptop like I do. You just kind of look up at the screen when you have your OBS up. Hello, Jilts. Thank you for the sub. I think that puts us up to 85. We're only 15 away, am I right?
We're actually, I think 4 away from 100, Ann.
Oh, really? How did we get all that? We were at, like, in the 80s
Well, we were at
yesterday.
85 yesterday, and then I think we had like a 14. I'm pretty sure we're closer. I'm pretty sure we're close.
You think we had a bomb? All right. Well, then we have to start thinking about what we're going to do with giveaway. That's the problem with not having any lead time, is that it gives me no time to figure out a cool giveaway. I have to just kind of like go, and run around in circles a little bit. That means that this Friday should probably be an AMA if we hit it. So if you are right and we're only 4 away or something, then if we get 4 for the remainder of this week, there we go. Gurgi is making sure that we hit it. Thank you, Gurgi. That's very nice. Well, I mean, it depends, right? Like, in reality, the figure, as I'm looking at it right here, Twisted Oma, and the figure that I'm looking at right here, like, if I compare the two, they're the same size. Like, because I'm looking at this on a screen over here, and I'm looking at this, like, close in. So the only thing the camera can really let me do is, like, if I want to get really close on something and really magnify it up, like, I could do that, but then I'd have to change focus on camera. So I don't really use it that way, I guess. I don't think it's a great magnifier. I think that you probably could get better just using reading glasses or Optivisor and pumping up your mag if you, like, if 3 times, like I use a 3.0 reading glass, and if this isn't enough, I could pump it up to 4 or 5. But I really feel like staring at the screen and trying to paint, like, it's just isn't ideal. It's not ideal. I mean, I use it as a double checker, like I said, for effects, to see how my shadows are reading, to see how my highlights are reading. And what this can do is actually tell me how it's going to read on camera when I take a photo of it. But I think that, actually I did this on stream, Hasio. Hold on, I'll get to you. But yeah, I think that probably wearing magnification is a better tool than using this, for me. There's a limit to how big you can blow it up on the screen. And the other thing is that when you get so large, it distorts things. So using your real eyes with real magnification, I think, is superior. Hasso, yeah, I did all of this NMM on stream, in past streams. So if you went to the Reaper YouTube and you searched for Alethia, which hopefully Justin has spelled correctly in all of her VODs, but you should get it. I spent quite a bit of time doing the sword, the leg, the breastplate, all that stuff. I was working on the shoulder a bit. This is a model that you can paint either way. I felt like this looked more like metal to me, so I chose to paint her armor as metal, when in actuality you could do it also as leather and make her a rogue. I chose to do her as a dual-wielding warrior instead, or a swashbuckler type, but you could go either way. But yeah, I mean, I was going to work on some NMM before I got totally distracted by the teal today. and color mixing. Maybe I'll do more. I may get some more NMM. What do we got? We've lost a lot of time. I mean, Hasio, one thing I'll give you, one tip I can give you real quick without disrupting too much is you always want to edge, and a lot of people will tell you this if you watch like Miniatures Den or because Luca's really good, he talks about it. Sergio, there's a whole bunch of people out there who talk about this, but you should always line your edges in pure white. And then if a surface is tilted upward and your character you figure is outside, add a little bit of blue to your upper edge, to your gray that you're using for the sword, that sort of thing. And you don't have to do as many like light and dark transitions as I do to get good results. You could go with just one and probably like get pretty good looking. The other thing with NMM is that you really want to make sure you understand lighting. Like I said, you have to kind of think about what areas are facing up and are getting light and what areas aren't and what areas are going to be more heavily shaded. And kind of understand how light operates on a metal object. So it takes a bit. You can do decent NMM without having really good blending if you really nail where the highlights are really supposed to be and make it look real. But it can be difficult to do that. So depending on your level, you may first want to study things like overhead lighting. And then after that, study things like, then maybe work on your blending, work on your NMM. But really with NMM, it's two things. It's shiny and reflective. So you need to paint it with those things in mind. And the way you make something look shiny is to have bright highlights and dark shadows next to each other. And the way you make something look reflective is to have highlights coming up from the environment that aren't directly related to the light source, like down here on the side. So those two things, those keys are the keys to NMM. And I'm going to finish out this teal, I think, today. But if I feel like going back to Alethia tomorrow, then I'll work on NMM, because that was actually kind of my intention today. And then I got distracted by teal. Yes, thanks for the gift bomb, Grugy. Very good. Geez. I don't think so. Shotokami, my favorite reference photos are like outdoors at the Renaissance Fair. Because the problem is, if you paint an NMM just in gray, black, and white, it will look like an illustration. It will not look real. The colors in it are a key part of making it look like it belongs in a reality that isn't a black and white photo or an illustration. So for me, the photos that I took outdoors at the Renaissance Fair that show sky reflection and green trees or ground reflection, those are much more instructive because I can still see highlights and shadows, but I can also see the colors that go in them. I don't think Chibi-sama. But yeah, so I mean, I don't think it's actually good for you to do black and white. I mean, I guess if you're really trying to like get the gist of highlights and shadows without the distractions, but it's not going to give you it's not going to allow you to internalize some of the other aspects of NMM, like the colors. I don't know. If you want to try it, do it. If you get mileage out of it, then teach it. Just because I don't do it doesn't mean anything. So. And I do, to be fair, usually paint the blacks, whites, and grays first, and then play with introducing colors where they make sense. I mean, everybody, the bottom line is if something is useful to you, use it. Like, it's the Bruce Lee quote, right? Discard things that are not useful, use what is useful, And that means useful to you, which may be different from things that are useful to other people. Bye, Shadow Raven, sorry. Hey, Strange. Hey, TJ. Well, we had some up and down time, TJ. We were troubleshooting my stream. Yeah, I'm glad it's working well now. Maybe it'll help my personal streams, too. I'm going to do my own stream this afternoon, guys. And I updated my Twitch schedule to include the new D&D Thursdays. Just so you all know. So if you go to twitch.tv/paintingbig, you can get the new schedule and see. It's official. I have to update my my starting soon screen, my picture graphic, but other than that, if you look at my schedule, which hopefully should appear on my main page if Twitch is, or if Twitch is doing what it should, then you'll see that I'm on Thursdays officially now. And that's going to be fun. So who here in chat, who's really familiar with 5th edition? Who's been playing 5th edition? Is there anybody who who really has been playing it, really likes it? I'm just doing some quick, I'm blocking in some highlights that are really rough, and then I'm going to go over them. This is one way you can get nice spot highlights on your, on darker colors, guys, is if you actually use a little bit of white mixed in with maybe your teal, and you put that down first and don't even bother to blend it, and then you take your highlight color and go over the top, you can get some really nice, see how those highlights really came up there? Lady Dyer, you like it? And Muses and Nightheart? Yeah, Nightheart, of course you have. And Jelly. Good. Yeah, well, I just need people to ask questions of as I study 5th edition, since I want to kind of use a very loose version of that for the, as we you know, do a bit of roleplay maybe on that D&D stream. It'll be limited, of course, but I'm just curious. So what do you like about it? Those of you who've been running it, and if you have a lot of experience with what was your previous favorite edition, and why do you like 5th? How about that? Give me that. Talk to me about that. I want to hear it, because I've run every edition of D&D up to 5th. I have not yet run 5th. I played 5th when it was in beta, and I've played every other edition of D&D, including Pathfinder, and I have run Pathfinder very briefly. So talk to me. Yeah, I'm going to keep developing the stories in those minis, and we're actually going to roleplay a little bit of those stories too, guys. As we make up these characters' background, I want to do, essentially, all of you are playing the character, and, we'll storytell. And we'll see how we can run that. Sometimes have rules confusion. Lots less tedious. Okay, what did you start with? With 1E? Oh, yeah. Well, 1st edition, you bet. Favorite is still 3.5. Why do you prefer 3.5 over 5th edition? And are you running it or playing it? Elegantly simple. I like that, Muse's Touch. If you think it's elegantly simple, that sounds like it's going to be great for a stream game. Oh, okay. Less intimidating. I like that, Jellyware, because I do teach a lot of new people to role. In the past, I have taught a lot of new players, because I tend to look for women, female friends of mine who might be intrigued but have never done it because they were, intimidated, or just, too many guys and they didn't feel like it was their thing. So I like a game that's very teachable, especially if we have people kind of stumble onto the stream as a painting stream, and then, who maybe are just looking to get into it. Attention to detail and advanced. Yep. Linear math of 3.5. Yeah, but it still wasn't balanced. I really like the rest system in 4th edition too. Good. Simplicity and true to fantasy nature. Yeah, it felt like D&D to me when I played beta. It felt really like D&D. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh. That's funny. It held a message for 5E'(s) because it thought that it was something terrible. You thought you were trying to spell something terrible. Pathfinder has more options for character creation, Muse's Touch, but I find that that's part of why it's very difficult to run. Very difficult to run and keep balanced. Haven't grokked 3.5? Yeah, what I'm hearing then is that 5e is a very, very good choice for this stream game. Because we aren't going to get crunchy with stream game. We just can't, right? It's a stream game. So, but a simple, elegant rule set that we can apply on the run, that's what I really like as a GM. Because then I'm not, I don't have to worry about all these numbers off to the side. I can tell the story, and I still have rules to fall back on. That's what I really like. Some of my favorite systems out there run like that. So I'm liking this, guys. Thanks. You think 5e is a little bit too simplified, Miss Imp? Yeah, for regular play maybe, but I think for stream game maybe it'll be great. See, I find 3.5 extremely hard to run at past introductory levels, because I find that all of the different ways you can tweak your villains and all the different rules and all the different feats and all the different everything, if you don't have it all memorized as a GM, you kind of screwed when players get above 6th level. Like, there's so much to keep track of, and it's so challenging to make an encounter work with all these different abilities in play, especially if you're like me, you're not a big tactics or strategy person. You know, you're just trying to have challenging combats that add to the story. You know, I find 3.5, I just gave up after a while. I found it very, very difficult to run. And hard to teach as well. Yeah, 3.5 consistent, I'll give you that. Yeah, backgrounds. Okay, I'll make sure I'll make sure I take a look at that, especially when I'm reading through the rules, Valendar. Thanks for the tip. You ran 5th before you were a player in it. Oversimplified, McBurder? Yeah. From a player perspective, are you coming at, McBurder? Or are you coming at it from a GM perspective? Because it's definitely different. It's very different. Very different. I'm just a serial GM. It seems like I'm always the one running the game, so I've given up on complaining about it. I have to admit that I like it. Yeah, great edition for streaming. Good, Nightheart. Good. Awesome. Feels like a streamlined version of 2E with some bits from other... Yeah, and I ran 2E for, like, ages. Pathfinder Society. Oh, yeah, okay. I could see how Pathfinder Society could really probably cleans up some Pathfinder stuff. I could see that. Yeah, right. Like, after you introduce them to D&D, then you could throw them at 3.5 and say, okay, if you really want the customization, if you want to go crunchy, here you go. Let's go crunchy. Right? I can see that. And it's not like I don't like crunchy systems. Like, I like champions, but the thing I found with champions was the same problem that I had with Pathfinder and with 3.5, which was that it was so hard to make you make this complicated villain because the rules are complicated and let you, but then keeping track of everything that you can do and running encounters with a bunch of these different things can get really challenging. Really challenging. Sometimes I just find that rules bog down story, and so I'd rather go lighter on the rules. Let's see here. I think 3.5 absolutely can make an overpowered character. I mean, I encountered this as a GM at different levels. Different character types are OP, in my opinion. I haven't tried Dungeon World. I'm more interested in just D&D because since I've been invested in D&D since it was in its little infancy, I do like to see how it evolves. Max Styles. I'm kind of at the point, because when I was like in my 20s, it was kind of like it was this huge epoch for role-playing games where everybody was doing an RPG, right? There were so many new RPGs. I mean, White Wolf came out in, 89 or 90 with Vampire. And there was just this explosion in all these different RPGs. And I tried a ton of them back in the day. And I guess I kind of got it out of my system, because now it's like I'm more interested in seeing the iterations of game systems that I like, that I know I've liked, and less interested in trying out new stuff if I'm satisfied with the things I've got. If I'm not satisfied with the system I have, then I'm more likely to go and explore a new game. Like I picked up, Coriolis, which is Arabian Nights in space. I love it. I love the setting. And the system seems simple. I have to look more into the system. But it won a bunch of awards a couple years ago. And I love the idea of a science fiction culture that's more based on Islamic background than the standard, and so it's very interesting. So I am still open-minded to new games, but yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of a trade-off. It's like, am I happy with what I've got? And if I am, then I'm less likely to stray. Dungeon World, very literary. I see. I do that myself, though, Amy. I don't find that I need a system to help me with that. They need to edit better. I did run 2E for a long time and loved it, Shotakami, because I had the whole thing memorized. it was around for so long, and I ran so many games, and I played so many games that I just memorized the mechanics. After that, it was simple. Yeah. Yeah, I like I mean, they do, right? And maybe as a GM, when you've got lighter rules, you do have to be a little bit more stern with your player characters if they are intend to get out of line. Although I was reading, guys, I was reading a very interesting article on GMing yesterday. Because it's come a long way, right? That kind of the treatment of GMing has come a very long way thanks to things like Critical Role and the style of Matt Mercer's GMing and other top GMs, right? You have top GMs now, isn't that funny? Thanks Twitch and YouTube and podcasts. But it was just very interesting how essentially what they were saying, how the GM style directly influences the player's play style. How you have more control than you think about it. So although a lighter rule set may mean that as a GM you need to take more control and be more proactive, I don't think that you're handicapped by a lighter rules set in, like, you know, I don't think you need to keep control of the characters that way. And that's different from the way I used to believe. I used to believe that you kind of needed to be able to fall back on rules to control unruly players, because I had a lot of them. But these days, it's more like the style that you engage in, I think. Yeah, it makes it easier to remember your abilities. Okay. Yeah, you need to you definitely have to have a GM that can roll with theatrics, right? Because all of us GMs have very different styles, right? In line with what we enjoy, in line with our personality, in line with how into story we are. Like if David is not into storytelling, he's into crunch. If David ran a D&D game, it would be full of puzzles and crunch and trying to optimize your character, which could still be fun, but it would be a very different game to my style of game where there's a lot of role playing. I mean, and even players that normally are not into role playing tend to like my games. So I don't think I'm doing it wrong. But it's two different styles, and then you've got every level in between. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with enjoying some serious crunch, because I do like building optimized characters, but I also like building a great story character. You want to play with me? Yeah, even 5e. Yeah, I think reading the PHB is intimidating. Like, when I even start reading that, I'm like, oh my god, so many words. Give me the cheat sheet for the system, please. Yeah. I'm kind of like that. Also, oh, hold on. I'm getting you guys are so chatty. I got you all excited here. Nomad Zeke, yeah. Explain to me how you try, right? It's gotten absurd at times, right? Oh, Baldur's Gate 3 early access is today. Thanks, Liquid Nebula. All of us just ran over and sunk our next 10 hours. Oh, yeah. Pacing is huge, right? Like, pacing and whether the game allows you to pace combat well is huge. Like, because you can get so bogged down, right? And that I think is the measure of a good game system too, is how long does it take you to run a combat round? You know, because if it takes a long time, right, Jelly, it gets so boring, and then you're just sitting there eating your Cheetos or Doritos or Mountain Dew or whatever, brownies. I guess we've evolved these days, although a lot of us still probably do pizza. Yes. Yeah, I agree that 3.0 and 3.5 were a necessary evolution for AD&D Valandar. Absolutely. Muse's Touch, I talked about this actually the other day. Are by the type that loves to jam, or do I wish I played more? I used to think, I was getting frustrated, like in the last decade or so at times, going, man, I'm always running the game. And I really need to play more. But I was always the one who had the initiative, right, to start the game. And so I ended up running it. But then I actually got to play for a while over the last several years, because we started a game where each of us took a turn running, which is something we'd never done before. And I enjoyed that, but what it taught me about myself is that I enjoy running because there's always something to do. And if I'm in a game that's slow-paced and the GM isn't taking initiative and keeping things moving, I get dead bored. So I have to admit that I need to stop complaining about not playing all the time, because I actually do enjoy running the game. Let's see here. Well, you gotta have the yeah. If you don't have a GM that can roll in theatrics and the rule of cool, if they're not a good role player, or stuff, or they're just not very flexible, that can, I think then that a crunchier rule system are better for those GMs, and they probably enjoy it more. Remember, the GM has to have fun too. Oh, good. Actually, nearly mitigate linear warriors and quadratic wizards. That would be great, Valandar. I'm very intrigued now. Yeah, the best D&D game is one that players had a good time. Exactly. Yeah, yes, TJ, I'm with you. Like if I have a great like the Champions game I mentioned before, where the GM was just amazing and told great. He had the way of bringing your top villains like in to where they actually came to, because it was a superhero campaign, right? So you actually met the villains on footing where you couldn't really engage them, right? It was politically not feasible at the time, or there were too many civilians or whatever. He had a great way of introducing villains to you where you really knew you had to take them down, but you liked them anyway. And you didn't want to take them down sometimes. Sometimes you were like, maybe I can just change his mindset. That kind of GM. That kind of GM. Just so good. So good. Critical Role. Oh yeah, it's played by actors. Yes. Yes. Interesting. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I knew that because I actually started watching the first episode of the second campaign on YouTube last night. Jellyware. I had never watched Critical Role before because I wasn't gaming, right? And watching gaming tends to make you want to make a game. But now that I was curious about Matt Mercer's style because I heard he was a really good GM. So I went to start watching it last night, and yeah, I mean, they open with, we're a group of voice actors. I mean, so you're gonna right away have the potential for a lot of story and a lot of character action. I don't know, Miss Dip. I think you've got some flexibility in that. What matters most is putting together a group that all likes the same style, whatever style that is. I think you've got a little flexibility. And what I usually do when I start a game is I ask everybody, I go around as we're creating characters. I'm like, guys, talk a little bit about what kind of D&D game you really like. You know, do you want a lot of combat? You know, do you want your character to be important in the story? Do you like a lot of puzzles and traps and stuff like that? Like, and usually the type of character they make is going to tell you that anyway, right? But it's nice to make people think about it, like actually think about it. Because even people who may normally gravitate toward like a crunchy style or a high combat style, if you bring up the fact that puzzles, is a possibility, you may go, oh yeah, I really like puzzle games, that kind of thing. And so maybe then you can, throw in something that makes them happy and get some combat. You want to balance your game, I think. I mean, there's always those games like Amber Diceless role playing where it's more about the politics and the relationships, but you don't have to go heavy with that. You certainly can do a balanced style, I think. I think that probably I'm pretty good about warning people that I tend to go for a pretty roleplay heavy game. Like I'm not gonna just throw things at you and you get to kill everybody. And I'm the kind of GM where if somebody actually dared to like go all, what do they call it? Where you just go and hobo killing, just like destroying everybody, just go around killing people. If I ever had a group that tried to do that, they would get like tossed in jail, and I'd go, okay, well, either I don't run for you guys ever again, or you clean it up. Because as a GM, I reserve the right to do that. If I'm not having fun, if you're like like hobo murdering everybody, that's not the game I want to run. So yeah, bye. I'll find myself a new DM, a new group. Even if they're friends. It's like, it's not what I want to do. I'd rather just, read a novel at that point. Yeah, if you deliberately play non-optimized characters well, and the game has room for that, right? If your GM isn't, like, really, really crunchy. Yeah, pre-written campaigns can be a really good boon. I agree, Nomad Zeke. Yeah, prep does take time. I don't know, Muses, if you knew about my Thursday stream or not, but we're, by the way, I'll just stop and actually talk about paint for a second. I am essentially using everything to highlight this up by putting down some white mixed with my teal and then glazing lighter teal over the top, guys, so it helps pop. When you've got a dark base coat, it helps pop these highlights out. I'm also doing a bit of lining with actual black, since I have some actual black on this model, like the black boots. Thursday, we're cooperatively creating characters in a world. on my miniatures painting stream, Muses. We're going to paint the characters, and we're going to make up their stories, and we're going to paint them in accordance with the personality and the details that we make up for them. We're creating a new world. So come on Thursdays, 4:30 p.m. Central Time, Thursdays, on my stream, twitch.tv/paintingbig. And cooperatively play with us, because eventually there will be role play, and everybody will be able to. I expect some people in the stream to gravitate toward each character, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah, tease the characters with a high level villain early on, and maybe not reveal right away that they're a villain, but just so that they get a sense of, you know, how awesome that person is as far as challenging. He's a good GM. Some of the fans need to take a flying leap. Yeah, I don't bother reading comments, so I just wanted to look at Mercer's GMing style. Soap opera of D&D. Yeah, I think I'm gonna like him as a GM. Yeah, because storytelling, right? Yeah, Murder Hobo, exactly. Hold on, I'm trying to catch up. Yeah, I was thinking actually that we might do some little role playing with our villains too. Backstory roleplay. That could be fun. Because then you understand the villain, but they're still a villain. That could be fun. Fun. I do not, even though I like it, okay. Murder Hope Incorporated. Yeah, he is a great GM. I can tell just now, and I've hardly started it, Nightheart. You can tell he loves it too. I think, and that's half of it, right? If your GM is really enjoying the story they're telling, that makes a huge difference. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind befriending random critters as long as it doesn't get out of control. Like, you know, there's always going to be the critter that really doesn't want to be befriended. Like, and sometimes I think players just do that because they think it's funny, and it can be disruptive to the story. So if it doesn't make sense for the story, then it's like, that's always my bottom line. I'm like, is this gonna, you know, waste everybody's time, and maybe everybody will laugh about it, but it's not doing anything really useful, you know? It's that kind of thing. That said, I do love druids who have speak with animals because, you know, role-playing animals can be super fun. So yeah, it's a balance. I think it's a balancing act. You want just enough little interludes of silly to make everybody laugh and relax and really love it, and then you want enough serious so that it feels like the game means something. So there, got our teal. Look at how that teal is coming up nice now, guys. That's really cool. I don't think I would let you befriend every critter with food, but, you know, you might distract a critter with food. Unfortunately, I know too much about evolutionary biology. Some animals have the set of genes for domestication, and some don't. And if you think about the world like that, if you think about the D&D world like that, there's going to be some creatures that maybe have those genes for domestication, and that means that some creatures of that type are more likely to be friendlier toward humans, or at least not afraid. But there are also creatures that absolutely do not have genes for domestication. I don't know if you guys know that. Like zebras, for example. Like, you all know about the Russian Foxes project, right? Where they actually domesticated foxes in Russia and proved that domestication could have happened really fast, like within 100 years. Much faster than was previously believed. But foxes actually have that set of genes. And as they domesticated them through the generations, they started resembling dogs more and more. Like, they got floppy ears and spotted coats and curly tails over the generations. Whereas zebras, people have been trying to domesticate zebras for hundreds of years and failing completely. Zebras do not give a crap about your domestication genes. They don't have them. So yeah, so I think applying that sort of interesting mindset to D&D, you know, D&D biology, there's going to be some monsters that just are like, no way. And there are going to be some monsters that maybe were artificially created that might actually have essentially domestication genes, the potential to exist better with humanoids just because they were artificially created, right? So one presumes the wizard wanted them to actually be controllable by henchmen or whoever, or himself or herself. So yeah, I think looking at it that way is very interesting. I like applying science to my fantasy. It actually, Korniko, read the book Tame a Fox. It is written by people who were in charge of that project. And the reason that they had to do it that way was that the Soviet government at that time was so anti-science that they would have destroyed the project and not let it go if it hadn't been hidden. So in order to do the project at all, they got some fur farmers who were relatively far from the capital to allow them to experiment without telling anybody. They swore they were just trying to breed friendlier foxes so they were easy to harvest. But in the reality, they used that cover to hide this entire scientific project. So don't it's deep. I guess I'm saying it's more complex than that. It's true they did utilize fur industry camps. Because that was actually the best way for them to see which foxes were naturally a little bit friendlier or less afraid of humans. But yeah, check it out. It might be How to Tame a Fox, but it's you'll find it pretty easily, I think, on Amazon. But yeah, it tells the whole story of that project from the very beginning all up toward almost the current day. Like there was a time, relatively when everybody started hearing about the Fox project was that it had been essentially cut out of funding and was so short of funds they were having trouble feeding the animals. Like they didn't have enough food for the animals. And one of the directors was so desperate, she wrote to National Geographic with the story, and National Geographic published it and asked for help. And so they got enough donations to keep, to feed the animals and keep the project going. So it really is an awesome story. I highly recommend the book. It's written really from a layman's point of view, so you really get at like what they were doing. And you also learn a lot about like domestication and how fast it could happen, like how fast the process could have taken of us domesticating our horses, our dogs, our cats. It's just fascinating stuff. I love genetics, so for me, they don't actually jellyware. They still have a lot of fox-like characteristics. They still have musk. They're still Vulpus. They're not Canis. They're a totally different genus. So they do have, they're more like big ferrets because they loved it. They really have a lot of energy. They still need a lot of outdoor time. And they've got the musk glands, so they're stinky. So you can't have your fox indoors is going to be quite stinky. They are still a little bit destructive, They're kind of like giant ferrets actually. Yeah, and very cat-like in some ways. Yeah, it's a different species. It's a different thing. So they are not just turning into dogs. Although they did get, like I said, one of the things they got is several traits that apparently, that also existed tied. And this is because genes migrate in blocks. They inherit in blocks. They don't just inherit one gene at a time. So what happens probably then, what that means is probably that the genes for the floppy ears and the curly tail and all that stuff were present in the same block as the domestication genes. And so that's why those things inherited together, and so they happened together in the same way in two different species. Just bringing in a little bit more shading on the back here. Yeah, pretty much Nomad Zeke, great. Oh, don't tell me that, Everlina. I love the fox models. I love that riding fox. I have the riding fox from a couple of expansions ago. I did the quest chain for it. Warlords, was it? And I love it. I love foxes in general. But yeah, so anyway, the science is cool. Read the book. It's super fascinating. All right. Yeah, cats domesticated humans, yep. Oh, they're tameable now? Oh, great. We needed battle foxes. Totally. Tameable by hunters, you mean? I have fox pets in that game. Am I riding fox? I don't have a hunter character. All right, so I'm blending a little bit just to get some shadow in there. Yeah, they do need more raccoons in WoW. That was Legion, yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because I'm sure that they really benefit from the, garbage cans and things from around human settlements. Maybe foxes are the next dog. Who knows? That's how dogs started, right? Is raiding our garbage heaps and eating the vermin that were attracted by our garbage heaps. I love that mount. Yeah. Tame of the Pretty Foxes. Oh, you got a beta key. Cool. Is it good, Everlina? Because David and I are going to come back to WoW for that, for Shadowlands. Highlighting our cape. I'm going to do exactly what I did on the front. Gonna just kind of block in, not blending. This is a faster way to highlight, guys. If you've got transparent colors, figure out where your highlights are going to be. Roughly block in that lighter color. It's like pure white, really thin pure white mixed with some of the teal. Trying to uplift yourself, yes, so you can be our raccoon overlords. Got it, Rox. Mentally insatiable. Alrighty, grabbing some of my light teal here that I mixed up, not my super light because that's really opaque. And I'm just going to paint it over the top of what I just did. And it's going to blend in slightly, like a little bit. You just got to, sometimes you got to blend it in from the opposite end. But it's a faster way to build highlights. And you can grab some of your super light stuff and do some wet blending toward the bottom if you want. I do use a lot of wet blending on big things like cloaks to set up highlights, and then I can come in and smooth them out. Beautiful, really new stuff in this one, but a bit creepy. Ah, that sounds promising, Everlina. Cool. Yeah, I'll look forward to checking it out once it comes out in November, doesn't it? I think I saw it. That's what their usual release time is, just in time for Thanksgiving. So everybody can sit at home for 4 days and play WoW. All right, so pretty much want to highlight this area on this cloak because as it gets toward the bottom, it's going to flare out and catch the light more. Whereas there's going to be more of a shadow up here under the hood. So I'm simplifying it a bit here, but it's roughly what you want to do. Now, if I want to put a border on this, a gold border like I talked about, I pretty much want to kind of mock it in now around the edge. So let us do the edge in gold. We're going to go just a little late today just so we get our full hour and a half since we had our like 5 or 10 minutes of downtime because of the stream quality. Oh, they moved back. Yeah, I know they always are kind of like general. I know they don't release it till it's done, Everlina, but I'm going to grab some walnut brown just to block in. But yeah, I've always respected Blizzard for that they don't release the game until it's ready to be released. They don't feel like they're constrained. Far better than rushing things out. Oh, it's been delayed, huh? Yeah, I haven't checked up on it. Well, not surprising with COVID and everything else. If it's, I've got so much going on this fall that it's probably better if it's delayed for me anyway. All right, gonna put a dark band around where I want the gold to be. So pretty much the bottom couple millimeters of this cloak. And with the bottom, doing a bottom border on cloaks is so easy. I'm gonna do one all up the edge too. But it's very simple. It's the most simplest sort of freehand is just to do kind of a band. You don't even have to be perfect about it because the waviness of the cloak is going to make it look wobbly anyway, so if your line is a little wobbly, nobody's going to notice. So doing borders on cloaks were the earliest freehand that I ever did. I'm also going to put a border up here on the top of the half cape, the hood thing. Stabby the Roomba. Missed the downtime. Yeah, you missed it. You missed it, Pendrake. I know. And I may not make the line quite as thick up here since it is, you know, just a much smaller piece of fabric. I still want it to be mostly teal, but I'll still make sure that I have enough to make a decent border. And here I'm going to ask myself, do I really want to go up the sides or do I want to just leave it on the borders? Hard call. We've got a lot of teal kind of all together up here. Although I do need to put some gold lines in here. These little raised areas are going to be yellow or gold also. So I need to make sure I've got those blocked in so that I don't miss them. And when you paint in little lines like this, you want to make sure to paint up and down the sides as well. You want a little bit of a line around it to make that detail stand out. Probably should hit some of these guys too on the sleeve at the same time since we're working the teal. There we go. Got some black bands there. Oh, Foxmount. Sorry, World of Warcraft Twisted Oma. We switched worlds. We switched worlds from miniatures to MMORPGs. No, there needs to be a fox mount. Something mounted on a fox. That would be a cool figure. But I don't know what game system would allow such a thing. I guess you treat it as a monstrous animal mount. I don't know that Reaper would do one unless it was game feasible. We've been ranging all over the landscape today between D&D and different editions of World of Warcraft, and apologies if it got confusing. But when you're just layering teal, you know, you got some extra brain power to spend on chatting with your community about gaming. There. So I'm going to bring up that edge a little bit sharper, probably quite a bit sharper. Since it's on top of this underlying sleeve, I want it to stand out. And if it's the same color and I'm not going to bring the yellow up that edge, then, which I'm not. And the reason is that these little struts here, I'm afraid that it would be confusing, visually confusing. So instead, I'm going to bring up my highlights on the teal, make sure to bring them up on this edge so that it stands out. It's obvious that it's a little bit different. If it doesn't quite blend in, again, I'm going to grab some of my medium teal, which is my most transparent color, and I'm going to blend that in over the top of that underpainting. That still gives us enough, see, crisp standout. I think that was 4th edition that introduced the halfling on the War Dog Dabber, but I think it's become a thing. Yeah, I don't know. David Peterson, who does Mouse Guard, he has all sorts of interesting other animal mounts for his mice, but not foxes, because they're predators in his world, I think. They aren't really interested in helping helping mice. All right, I want to get this teal kind of done today because I've got all these custom mixes, right? And although I could probably mix up something similar with a little bit of trial and error, I may not be able to match it great. So I want to mostly get this teal blocked in so that then I can move on to other things and I don't have to worry. I do like the teal that's come out though, and it works really well with the hair. That's the important thing too. All the way back to AD&D, yeah. Yeah, I guess I just thought I had never really noticed it until 4th ed. And for little tiny areas like this, definitely going to pop up the white highlight so that all those details stand out. The smaller the area, the lighter and brighter and faster you can go up with your highlights in order to make it look, and it'll still look blended because it's such a small area. So you can get away with a lot on these tiny little details. There. So now all that teal is standing out really nicely. Yeah, I agree. I really love David Peterson's art style. For those of you who don't know, he streams, and usually I try to raid him if he's streaming when we do our show, which he often is on my Twitch. He's a great guy, and he does such nice work. I love watching his stuff. Seriously tempted to get a commission from him, just because I do like his art style so much, because he has commissions for available on his store. Yeah, I have to thank Ron Hawkins for... I didn't know about Musgard until I saw it in his office. But yeah, if you watch him on stream, it's really cool, Kuroniko, because often he's going to work on commissions. And so he starts a piece and finishes it within the course of like a couple hours usually. And you can kind of see his work from start to finish. His style, how he works with things. And sometimes when he's doing a commission, people have asked him to do like Jimbo, the rabbit samurai. And he'll work in that artist's style, which is, you know, super props when a visual artist can do that. Has studied enough of another artist's style to do stuff in that style. It's pretty cool. All right, bringing it up. David Peterson, GRA today. And it's SEN, Peterson. And it's twitch.tv/David Peterson, I believe. And yeah, he created Mouseguard. He's really cool. He does fantastic art if you're into like the animal warriors, and I think he was doing an otter in Victorian garb the other day. That was wonderful. But yeah, totally recommend. David's awesome. And he's trying to get partner, guys. He's trying to get partner, and to do that, he needs to get the average of 75 viewers per stream, which is really hard when you're smaller. So do follow him on Twitch and keep an eye out for his streams. Like I say, we often, on Painting Big, we often raid him because I just really like him. Him and there's another animal artist out there that I really love, Justin Gerard, who used to work for Blizzard and a whole bunch of other awesome video game and for Disney too, I think. They're both wonderful. But Justin's a partner. He always gets the views. I always try to elevate David when I can. They have very different styles. Getting our little highlights in on the hand, highlighting all that. Peterson. Is it Peterson and not Peterson? Yeah, maybe Pendrake. Thanks. But yeah, if you like Musgard or Redwall or any of that stuff, David Peterson is awesome. Yeah, maybe it is PED. I'd have to go look at my list of follows. Thank you for clarifying that, whoever did. I'm playing around with my highlights. Look at how nice the teal has come up, though, guys. It's really, really looking snaz. Like, now I really do need to work on the NMM, because before the model didn't look all that finished, I could kind of get away with this piecemeal NMM, but now it's bugging me. Now it is bugging me. Yeah, I really like his... I like his style. I like what he does with his, using the toned paper for his commissions, and using the ink and the colored pencil and the white gel pen to bring out accents. It's a beautiful, simple, but really elegant style. I really like it. A little bit more highlighting on this side now in the teal. And I think I need to bring my teal up a little bit more up there. Just a little bit. Want to bring up. Now I need to bring it up on the other side. Yeah, it does. It's really good. He did an online con for Mouse Guard not long ago where he got a whole bunch of people to come in, from puppeteers to you know, like people talking about like the science of Mouse Guard, or, you know, Mouse Guard history, and, you know, it was really cool, actually. I think he wants to do another one. He also shared, when he did the online con, there was going to be a Mouse Guard movie at one point, and then it got canceled. But he has part of the soundtrack that they did as a, you know, as kind of a proof of concept, and it's just beautiful. Oh, yeah. No problem, Karaniko. I do not expect you to get short sleep just to watch my stream. In fact, I would be horrified if you did, because sleep is so important. Like, if I don't get a good night's sleep, I am just not on it the next day. I feel so bad. There we go. We're picking up our teal all over the place now, guys. Looking great. I think we actually made a lot of... It looks like we made a lot of progress on her today, right? Because we filled in a lot of that, what used to be just dark, right? I need just a little bit more back here. A little bit more here. A little bit more here. Kind of looking at areas that I may have missed that I want to highlight my teal really quick. But I think I'm liking this now. Oh, yeah, thanks for the website. 1T, 3 E's. Okay, so it is Peterson. Okay, good to know. Yeah, if you go look at his stuff, he has like art for sale in his store, and he's also does commissions, and he's got some good stuff. And of course the Mouse Guard books. He was working on his like pencils for the new book, the new comic, the new story he's doing. The Weasel War, I think, was working on that the other day. So he does a variety of stuff, and he's always really helpful if like you're interested in like doing comics and you're trying to figure out how to work with Photoshop to like make your, you know, take your line work that you did and put it into Photoshop so you can color it, you know, or another coloring program. He's really helpful talking about how he uses the various layers and tools to clean up his pencils that he's imported into the program and make them to the point where he can really, you know, the line work. He keeps the characteristics of the line work, but he's able to color over and make them look really crisp. It's pretty cool. He's a great guy. Oh, thanks, Kerniko. I appreciate it. Because I eventually would like to get Twitch partner, and just for the to be able to do like subscriber only streams. I think I would like to be able to reward my subs with little like personal, like just for them streams. I think that would be really fun. Otherwise, I mean, partner's a cool metric, you know, to measure your growth by. But a lot of the things that come with it are things that I'm like, well, but not the personalized stream thing. I like being able to do the idea of being able to do that. Alrighty, I think we got that teal looking pretty good. And we've got, oh, I do need to put a little border on the front of this, though. I want to be able to bring in some of that yellow. Wrap that border around. Don't want it to just end on the edge there. And that is still really crisp right there so that we can see the differentiation. This is just kind of a trick you can do, guys. If you're painting over, usually you like to alternate colors, but if you have to overlap one color with this, an area of one color with the same color, bringing up a sharp highlight on the upper, on whatever the overlying piece is, and making, you know, if I take my shadow color here, my liner, and I just, you know, shadow that edge down below a little bit, and that can help pull those apart. Pull those apart. Yeah, I get it. So yeah, just don't put the spaces in on the link that Hendrik shared. Or just search for David Peterson on Twitch. You should find him. He streams a fair amount, I think. He streams several times a week. Because he is trying to get partner. And he's also a great one for recommending like art supplies or recommending other streamers who do art who are really like groundbreaking or interesting in what they do. I found Justin Gerard from him. So I really, it's cool and inspirational. All right, so right here, again, remember we've got, this is kind of curling up and over. We want this to really stand out. So we're going to grab that white and we're going to really pick up this edge. There we go. Ah, right. Now here, because it's just flipped over and not a separate piece of cloth, here I probably would not use black to line this because it is still part of the same surface. Right? It's just a little bit flipped over on the top of its other side. So we want it to still look like it belongs to the same area. There. We got to come back in and get back to our NMMs at some point, but this is looking pretty good. Contrast, exactly. You want contrast. You want to think something that's on top of something else can be a little bit lighter at the edge, essentially is the rule. And I may bring up a lot of this, or I may, actually, this is a pretty good cape to do freehand on, so we may do a freehand symbol on it, maybe cross swords or something in the future. Oh, I almost missed the back of this leg. I did not do my teal highlights on the back of this leg, so we got to get to that. Otherwise, I think her teal is in a really, really good place. I really like the teal with the orange. Do you guys? I think the teal with the red hair looks really good. And putting a lot of teal on this is also, like, it just makes it look really interesting. And then we've got the really warm leather color that we'll be working with the ruddy leather. I think that's that also is working really in harmony with the hair. This braid will be yellow. I need to look at that's skin. I actually need to paint that in skin. Some of this detail up here, I missed that she had a cutout there, so I need to either paint it like leather and just, you know, do it that way, or actually bring it in as skin. But yeah, I think she's looking pretty good, guys. Let me get this last bit of teal here. And I kind of remember the color, how I mixed this color, so we'll be good. It worked out, even though we didn't have our swamp green and we had to create a new teal. Nonetheless, our teal worked out really well. I'm going to make an effort over the next, you know, months to not use any canceled colors. I'm going to, if I do reach for something that you guys know is no longer available, warn me, because I read through the list, but, you know, I don't have perfect recall. So, yeah, teal and silver with the leather is going to look good. And I'll do some bluish highlights on the leather probably with the black leather. Unless I decide to bring it up more with like warm, I might bring it up more with warm highlights, like brown highlights. Use a bit of the ruddy leather, work it in to repeat the warm, right? Because they've got warm, warm, and some warm. Although it'll be very little on the boots because I still want them to be a very, very dark leather. But that might be a nice way to tie it all together. And then, of course, a lot of this stuff that's still white is going to be yellow or gold. So we're slowly drawing together all of our stuff. And then I got to remember I've got a little flower in her hair. So we'll have to figure out what color that's going to be. It may be just an accent color. I also have these plates on the front of her sword that I could put an accent color in. So I have to stop and think about if this flower, if I'm just going to make it yellow or if I'm going to make it, some other color that works well with the rest of this. If you go with an off color that you're not repeating anywhere else on the model, it can look jarring. So we have to kind of think about that when we're looking at this flower in her hair. One more highlight, I think, on this back part. Just to really raise it up. And let it stand out. And then it looks great, I think. I'm quite up. We didn't get this part back here. There we go. I'm just trying to like troubleshoot everywhere. Trying to grab everywhere. To make sure that I get all my teal in before I have to rinse out my palette and go, oh noes. I'll probably have to match it in the future, but I mostly remember what I did, so I'll be able to match it close enough. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad I worked on this model today. I feel like I'm much happier with her now that she's got some more color on her. It's funny how just doing the teal has made her look so much closer to done. Like, she's really snazzy. She's going to be a really good looking model, I think, when she's done. Haven't decided whether Ron gets it to have his mitts on this one or if I'm going to, like, offer her to my patrons. We'll see. We'll see. Ron already gets Juliana, so. Alrighty. I think we're pretty good. I think we'll call it there. And then tomorrow, maybe we'll come back. We'll work on some NMNMs, or non-metallic metal, as they call it. Just to get her even more pulling together. I think that could be... Yeah, I don't know, Jellyware. I mean, the problem with these flowers is they're all sculpted like daisies. They've got like their center. I haven't decided what I want to do. Flowers in the hair are always problematic for me unless the color scheme is complex enough that it's obvious what I want to choose. But here, where I'm going pretty limited, where I've really just got the teal and yellow, and I don't know what color I want the flower to be. I mean, I may just use a very pale teal and highlight it up to white and do yellow at the center. And that may be my answer. Or it may just be a yellow flower with a darker orange center, which would work. It won't be as, won't stand out as much, but it won't clash with anything. Sometimes you just got to make the decision that looks pretty decent that doesn't clash with anything. Yeah. Alrighty. Justin, do we have a raid?
Yes, we do. We're going to be rating Jimmy the Brush.
Jimmy the Brush. Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for showing up today. Remember, I have my stream later on today, 4:30 p.m. Central Time at twitch.tv/paintingbig. And you can find me on Patreon at patreon.com/paintingbig. And thank you, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow morning for those of you who can't make any of those thingies. Have a great one, guys. We'll see you later.
Thank you guys very much. Don't forget, 4 p.m. also, we have Proctor's Crow's Nest. I believe we have Christine Van Patten on today, assuming that all of that came through. But thank you guys very much, and hope to see you later.